Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Renee with the Ask Dr. Renee Show. This show is here to motivate and inspire you to live the life you deserve. If you have not tuned in before, some of our past guests have been Kwame Holland, Cupid, the R&B singer, line dance party king, Felicia Butterfield Jones of Ween, Elvira Guzman of LVGPR, Shanti Das, the hip hop professional, Paul Carrick Brunson, Diane Valentine, and many others. Please go to AskDrRenee.info and you can watch the archives of all the old episodes. Tonight is our 38th episode, and we're excited to have Nadia Jones. Nadia has done a whole lot of things, so we're going to talk to her about all of that, so you can check all of the things she's doing out. But thank you so much, Nadia, and welcome.
Hi, everyone. How are you guys?
So Nadia, let's get right into it. So first of all, did you always grow up in Florida?
No, actually, I was born in Mexico, but I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, you're a Midwesterner like me.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes.
No wonder we get along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So Nadia, do you have any siblings?
Yes, I have an older brother.
Okay.
He's 4 years older than I am. He still lives in Cleveland. And but my parents have moved away from Cleveland, and I'm here in Jacksonville. I moved here because of my husband, actually.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you were growing up, because Nadia's an attorney, everyone. So when you were growing up, was that always your dream?
No, it was not. I would say maybe like in high school, I started becoming curious about what it means to be an attorney. And then no one in my family is an attorney. And then in college, I was more interested. And then my roommate, who was 1 year ahead of me, started like looking into law schools and going to what they call like the law school fairs, kind of like a career fair, but for law schools. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll do it and I'll find out more. So she graduated, went on to law school, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to. And that's kind of how that all started.
And what school did you go to undergrad?
Undergrad, I went to University of Florida. Go Gators, yay! And then for law school, I went to Howard University School of Law, the real HBCU.
And what was that experience like? I actually have a friend that went to MSU undergrad and Howard Law School.
Oh, really? It was amazing. Actually, I was just in DC yesterday. The last couple of days, I got to DC on Wednesday, and I was there for an event at Howard. So I went back to the law school. The law school and the main campus are in two different locations. But the event that I went to was hosted by the White House, the President of the United States.
Oh, and, wow.
Yeah, it was an amazing event. It was called the Interfaith and Interservice, the President's 5th Annual Interfaith and Interservice event for colleges and universities. So I was there representing my school, and it was amazing. It was really a great event.
Neat. Oh, wow. So when you were at Howard, what did you decide is the kind of law that you wanted to practice?
So, you don't really get into like a niche really until maybe like your second or third year. And Howard is a huge social justice law school. So a lot of people that go to that school have a passion and want to be maybe serving underserved communities or working for nonprofits. Or perhaps they go on to like a big firm and are still able to advocate on behalf of social justice. But for me, I wanted to do family law or employment law. It was really employment law. My third year, I did an internship at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is the federal agency that oversees federal employment discrimination cases.
Oh, interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So when you graduated, did you get a job right away? What did you do?
I did, actually. So, everything you do in life with regards to like looking for employment is all about who you know. So
yes, of course.
My husband actually, he's not an attorney, but he worked at Fannie Mae. And there was somebody there who was a Howard graduate. And he was like a VP at Fannie Mae. And he went up to him and was like, hey, my wife is at Howard Law, and I know you're a graduate. would you be willing to meet with her? And he was like, okay, no problem. So I went in and met with him, and he was asking me what I wanted to do, and I told him, he was like, well, you should look into my first law firm that I worked at when I graduated from law school. That sounds like it's right up your alley. So I was like, sounds good. I sent them a letter. I said, can I include you in my cover letter? He said, yes, go for it. Did that. They gave me a call, had an interview. They were like, when you pass the bar, you got a job. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yes. So as soon as I passed the bar, I called them, found out in October, called them, and I said, guess what? I passed the bar. And they were like, great, when can you start? So that's what I did. I went to that firm. It was a 12 attorney firm in Washington, D.C.
Very cool. Very cool. So we skipped a part. So where you met your husband in undergrad or grad school?
Undergrad at University of Florida.
Okay. And when did you get married?
After my first year of law school. We got
Nothing wrong with it.
No, we got engaged like the week before orientation at Howard, law school orientation. And then my whole first year, I was like doing law school and then planning wedding. It was insane. I don't recommend anybody do that. Like, don't even think about doing that. If you think it's a good idea, trust me, it's a horrible idea. Don't do it.
That seems like that would be a little bit much on your plate.
It was a lot. We had a wedding planner who was amazing. She was fabulous. To make things even more complicated, because I guess I just like to, challenge myself as far as I can go. Our wedding was in Florida while we were in DC.
Living in DC.
So I had like every spring break and Thanksgiving break, every break that we got when most of my classmates were like catching up on studying. I'm like, or asleep, because you want to do one or the other on long break. I'm like planning a wedding. It was silly. It was beyond silly.
Well, that's good that you got that MRS so quickly, because Lord knows I sometimes wonder, did I make a mistake?
You know what? I always say everything. I know we're talking about like staying motivated. Everything happens the way that it should. I really firmly believe that.
And you're right.
Yeah, everything happens the way that it should. So it's good that I got married early, because when we got pregnant, I had very complicated pregnancies, and I was on bed rest. With each one, things got worse. So my doctor was like, "Boy, you're sure lucky you got married and pregnant early, because if you would have waited till your 30s, it would not have happened." And I was done with all my babies by the time I was 29.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Nadia has 3 wonderful children.
Yes, I do.
That keep her very busy on top of all the other things that she does.
Yeah.
So how long did you work in DC then?
Was in DC for a year, and then we decided to move down to Jacksonville, Florida. Took the Florida bar and passed, and then got a job in Jacksonville.
So I've read some of your story on your blog, I believe it was, or someplace you wrote, and you just decided that that wasn't the life for you anymore.
No, I decided being an attorney was not for me. I highly appreciate and thoroughly am thankful. Like, again, I believe everything happens the way that it should. Like, I do not regret going to law school, practicing law, none of that. And I find my legal career and experience and background to be very helpful as an entrepreneur. There's been a lot of times where I've been able to save myself money and needless attorney fees, because I've been able to write my own contracts, review my own contracts, revise them, suggest changes and edits. So that's been beyond helpful. And then just in navigating, the daily course of life, really, as an entrepreneur, it's more than just looking at contracts. It's just knowing everything from, what you are entitled to, and also how to avoid potential litigation, how to avoid putting yourself in situations when you're working with other people. So very helpful. Yeah.
And you're right. Because I call on all the time, like, wait a minute, can somebody please look at this? And is this right? Is this wrong? And, can they do this? So I'm sure that it's very helpful. And actually, it's funny. There's a lot of people that have law degrees that people don't realize. When I was first talking about I wanted to be in television, a lawyer told me that most of the people like on these morning shows have law degrees. He was naming several people on Good Morning America with law degrees. I was like, really? Had no idea.
Oh, yeah. So I think I was reading somewhere that like 15% of all of the nation's Fortune 500 CEOs have JDs. So, yeah.
So it's a good, good thing to have. Absolutely. So you got the itch and figured it out. So what did you think? What did you do? Did you start writing right away in your blog, or what'd you do?
So I started blogging when I was in the midst of practicing law. And at first it was a group blog about 3 moms that happened to be lawyers too. And we were all working in different areas of the law at that time. So one of us, I was a litigator. Another one was technology law. And then the other one was legislative. So we had different perspectives. But at the same time, we shared the same struggle, which was these high demanding jobs. So it was like a parenting, working parenting mom blog. So that's how I started blogging. And it went from being a hobby to now like an opportunity to start earning some extra money. And then also a great tool for community building, because we met other working moms that even if they weren't in the legal field, they definitely shared some of, the similar struggles that we were dealing with as well.
And so you were kind of early on with the blogging.
Oh, yeah. Started blogging in, I think it was 2006. And then this was so early. I mean, the brands had really no clue what they were doing when it came to working with bloggers. Like we didn't know what we were doing either. In fact, I remember hosting giveaways on the blog, and they would send us the winner's giveaway, like the prize, and then we would have to send it out. And I'm like, why am I paying? And it was totally normal then. And then one day I'm like, don't send it to me, send it to them. Like,
right, here's their information.
Right. No, it was like, pick your winner and here's the prize for you and them. Like, and it made perfect sense. Like, we were thankful to have been given the opportunity to host a giveaway for, whatever product it was on our blog. And I remember too, I was one of the first, Walt Disney World did, it was called the AA Mommies group. I still have my bag from that conference. This was before Disney did the Disney Social Media Moms. They they called it the AA Mocha Moms Weekend or something. And it was myself, Renee from Cutie Beauty Cake, and it was 12 of us and 10 other bloggers, most of whom I don't even think I don't practice, I'm talking about blog anymore. And it was like such an amazing weekend, just to be with other like-minded moms. We were in the same community. We were all African American and just connecting and really trying to figure out like what this whole space was about.
So of those 12 people, how many are still blogging or have blown up into something so much bigger and stuff?
Of those 12, so Jennifer James is one of them. So she's still doing big things, and she's very much into social justice, social advocacy, and she has her group. Can't think of the name now. And then Renee, and then there was myself, and then there was another blogger. Her name is Melanie Sheridan, and I think we're the only ones that continue to actively blog. The other ladies, like I remember a couple years ago, just trying to find them and see where they were at. Couldn't find any other blogs anymore. So, I mean, they may still. Oh, there was another one, Kim in New York, who was she changed her name recently, and I can't think of her new name. But yeah, she still blogs. But you know what? I was looking on Twitter the other day, and like her last tweet was like in April. So I'm like, what's going on with Kim? I'll have to find out what's going on with her. But I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been like a lot of like the legends, you know, who have like since retired and they don't
Right.
blog anymore. Like, you know, and I wouldn't say that they kind of have gone away forever. I think their blog created a platform for them to do other things,
Other
you
things,
know.
yeah.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think that people still don't quite understand like all the possibilities there are
Hmm.
with blogging. And so that's one of the other reasons I wanted to have you on, because I know because you do so much work with brands and stuff, you could
Hmm.
explain and help people to understand like this is what you can get done, you know. And this is because people are always like, well, how do you make money blogging? Well, this is how you can make money blogging. I was telling Nadia earlier that I had periscoped about this show tonight. I do my little pre-show, did the pre-show, and I was telling them this is who's going to be on, and you
Hmm.
should visit her website, The Network Niche. I said she has really great campaigns that are
Yeah.
3 and 4 figure campaigns
Yeah.
that you might be interested in, and you never know, you might qualify. And it's not even you have to be a blogger, you have to be an influencer or a
Yeah.
blogger or both. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
encourage everyone to go to the networkniche.com. We'll definitely have that link in the box below this video so you can click and
Great.
sign up. You just never know. She sends out emails and lets you know the campaigns that are available. And then you
Mhm.
see which ones that you think fit you. You click, and you know, the rest you just leave it up to God, right?
Yeah.
You
The
know,
rest is history.
and see what they say. Yeah. But
Yeah.
so you started blogging in 2006. So Justice Jonesy has always been your blog, right?
No, at first it was
Okay.
MamaLaw. The group blog was MamaLaw. Justice Jonesy has always been my blogging name. So started
Gotcha.
there, and then in 2011 or 2010, actually, I started Justice Jonesy. That became my
Okay.
own space to write my own stories. And then actually, I just launched another blog. I haven't, like, it's alive, but I'm
Oh,
gonna
I know you
announce it
told me
next
this
week.
summer you're going to do that.
Yes, I have been like
So,
sitting on this URL forever, and then finally I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go live with this blog. So the blog is done, the logo is done. So it's called mixedlatinas.com, and I'm really excited about that. It's, you know, I'm a mixed Latina, so I'm half Haitian, half Mexican, and it's just another space to where like-minded mixed Latinas we can share our stories, and I can just share my own perspective on what it is to be, in my case, a Black Latina. So I'm really excited about that.
now how did your parents meet? Because Haiti and Mexico just
Yes, I know,
seems,
right?
it doesn't seem to be the most, put it this way, I know a
Rolling.
lot of people, but that is a combination that I know nobody else has but you.
Yes. So my dad was a doctor who went to Mexico to study medicine, and my mom was in nursing school at that time. So the rest is history. So that's how they met. And
Ah,
it's
okay, okay, okay.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of Haitian doctors, they either went to Cuba, Mexico, and then there was one other country. I can't remember the other one. It was like the three top schools that were like the recruiters for his college for the pre-med students. So he had like a little small crew of Haitian friends that went to Mexico, and they all married Mexican women. So um, those kids are Haitian and Mexican too. So it's funny,
Right.
like, we would see them every couple of decades, like growing up. They moved on to like New York. They all came to the States. So every time we traveled to New York, we would see those families, and it was funny. It was like our little
That
crew.
is, that's cool.
Hmm.
So you start blogging, and like you said, you have the moms group. So how did you end up starting to do conferences? Because that is like, I mean, most people that's not even on their vision to do conferences. They just want to quit
Exactly.
their day jobs and blog.
Yes.
So
So
did
the
it first
conference,
come that your blog was enough that you could leave your job, or what came first?
actually, what came first was the conferences.
Okay.
So Bloglicious was my first conference. Bloglicious began after, or the idea for Bloglicious started after I was at the Disney Mocha Moms event with the 12 of us. So it was 12 African American moms, brown moms, however, Mocha Moms, I think is what Disney had
Right.
called it. And we were talking about different conferences. And I was like, we should have a conference for us, like for minority women. And they were like, oh, I mean, some of them were like, oh, that's a great idea. But I mean, again, it was still such a very new idea. So we just shared our experiences, and at that time, like I said, working with brands and what that was like. And then I'm like, this is an amazing opportunity. Like, there's no way this can't be like the next blog her. So we went to, I was at Disney in October and just kind of thought about it for a couple of months. And then it was in February the following year where I had called Stacy and I was like, okay, this is what's happening. We're doing this conference. Like, this is what we're doing. And she's like, okay. So that's how it all began. We were up, actually, I don't even think we had the website up right away, but the website went up, I know, in March. I think it was like March 9th. We announced the conference and then had 31 brands that very first year. The first conference was in October. Oh, yeah. The first conference was in October in Atlanta. Sold out. I think our goal was like maybe 150 attendees. We had more than 150. Never expected to have 31 brands. The next year, doubled revenue. We didn't double attendance. It's always been kind of, a smaller conference. And then it just kind of became the magic that it is. So then, that was really the opportunity where now you're making like real money through blogging. You're not actually blogging, but through the world of blogging and social media. So following Blogalicious, I started another conference for parents who were blogging. And that was like another new niche demographic as well, because I was really focused more so on multicultural moms and dads that blog. And that's how the niche parent, began. And then the niche parent just grew, especially in the last, I would say, 18 months. A lot of the campaigns that we were doing were focused less on, and that's been the shift with a lot of marketers. Even though they still want to tap into mom bloggers, it's less like, let's have the mom share her story as to how this product fits into her home. It's more, we're marketing to women who has an audience of women. If she's a mom, perfect. If she's not, no big deal. So that's why we moved most recently from the niche parent to the network niche.
So, okay, so I just have to ask a silly question that somebody wants to know. So how do you get 31 brands on your first year, your first conference ever?
Because you are selling, it was so easy. Even today, it's so easy. The brands see this as an opportunity to engage a very specific demographic.
Market, okay.
Right? Market. At that time, I think there were not that many conferences. That's one thing to think about. There was Blog Her, and then I think Type A was around. No, Type A might have started the following year. But there just wasn't that many conferences. What was the one that Jill Johnson used to do before Family Court? Her conference was around, her conference started even after Blogalicious. But there was really no real space to engage this multicultural group of women. So they flocked to the event. Like, it was pretty amazing. I mean, it was like a phenomenon, I should say.
Now, could you name some of the brands that they were interested in this demographic?
Absolutely. McDonald's. We had Chevrolet that first year. Let's see. Gosh, there were a couple of hair care products. Suave was a sponsor. There was a lot of brands Kimberly
Okay,
Clark,
I just was
Johnson
wondering.
and Johnson. Yeah, some of those brands, they came right away. Who is it? The homeopathic company that has when you feel like you're getting sick. They were a sponsor the first year as well.
Wow. Okay, that is so impressive.
Yeah.
So most people, bloggers know Blogalicious was this past weekend. Well, actually ended yesterday. So what year was this for them?
I think it's 7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it started in 2009. So that makes it 7.
Now, how did you put together a conference? You said the website went up in March and the conference was in October?
Yes. Can you believe it?
That's crazy. Most people are like, well, you have to plan out a year in advance and blah, blah,
You
blah,
really
you know.
should. You really should. Like, there's
Right.
no question about that. But it was just like, that just kind of shows you that multicultural women were looking for a place to be and to connect.
Right. Right.
So,
and
yeah.
the brands obviously were looking for connecting with you, because a lot of the brands, you know, they'll say, oh, well, you know, you need to wait till the fiscal, you know, next fiscal year, because literally you did it within, you know, most people's fiscal year. You know, you didn't do it
Oh,
at the
the same
beginning. You
fiscal
did
year.
it. Yeah. So,
Absolutely. So, you know, now, again, everything is like, you know, you kind of thank your blessings, of course. But now, you know, working with brands in other ways, like on the campaigns, for example, sometimes, you know, I've noticed like at the end of the year in the fourth quarter, a lot of brands have revenue that they need to spend. So they're like, we've got a campaign. Can you get it up in 3 weeks? Yes. So holidays are always really busy. And then also in the first quarter of of that fiscal year, a lot of brands have already, I mean, actually, I should say the last quarter of the previous year, they've already mapped out what they want to do. So after I was practicing law and, went and I was a law professor, but then I did that for a couple of years, but I was actually at an ad agency working with national clients, like doing social media marketing and putting budgets together. So I had such a much better understanding on how brands and agencies plan out their entire fiscal year. So right now they're planning for fiscal year 2016. Even though they might have a line item for like 3 conferences, most of the brands, maybe they have an idea of what conference it is that they want to sponsor, but it's not like they're like, okay, we're going to sponsor conference A, B, and C. They just know we've got $25,000 to do one conference and 30 for another one and 50 for another one. And then they kind of plug it in as the year goes on. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Same with the marketing campaigns that we do with our brands. Like Home Depot right now has been a client of ours. We do a campaign with them every quarter because they do this event called Home Depot GNO that travels around the country. So
the GNO is Girls Night Out, for those that don't know.
Girls Night Out. And, they'll call me and say, okay, our next GNO is coming up. So we've got one October 2nd. And then now it's time to put it all together. So, it's funny how everything works. And there's definitely a lot of thought put into budgets and everything else. But it's just funny to realize that a lot of the details come together kind of later on. So, yeah. But, you said something earlier. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you said something earlier about the way that, bloggers don't realize that they can make money. I think that's something that I definitely want to touch on if we can, because I know that there are a lot of bloggers who should be making good money and they're not. Like I continue to earn revenue. There was a time where I had left the law school, I had left the agency, and I was just a complete, mompreneur working my business, doing the conference, and loving every minute of it, and still making money through my blog. So I had like 3 revenue streams. I had my blog money, I had money from the network, and then I had money from the conference. And I'm not like, I don't have the page views that some of these bloggers that I hire now through the network, and I'm still able to work with brands. It's just all about how you position yourself, and then also it's about how you can engage your community. Some brands are more focused on the numbers, right? They want bloggers that have 30,000 plus Twitter followers, or whatever platform it is that they're trying to engage the bloggers in. But that is definitely not always the case. And I'm a really good example of that because, I've got decent Twitter following, maybe, decent Instagram, but my impressions, like my monthly readership on my blog, it's not, in my opinion, it's not impressive when I look at some of the other big bloggers who've got huge following.
And that's important. We're both in a group on Facebook called Bloggers Like Me.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people, you know, are like that I should do a media kit for my blog because I don't have that many subscribers. And we're like, well, you have to put it together. If you don't put it together, then anything to show a brand. So you have to start somewhere. So I always say just start where you are and then grow from there, but you have to start somewhere. So, and I was very shocked to find out a couple years ago that one of the bloggers that I thought, you know, she had 1,000 subscribers. I was like, that's it. And she is flying hither, thither, and yon. And I'm like, and getting paid to fly all these places. And I was like, and she just has 1,000 subscribers. I said, oh yeah, I need to just start where I am and keep it moving.
Oh yeah, like, you know, there are some articles I've read that tries to put a like not a qualifier, but tries to value like what each tweet is, or what each Facebook share is, or what each Instagram is, like the value to the brand. Some of them will say each Facebook Live is worth $1 in revenue to a brand. So if you can imagine, if a blogger has, you know, 3,000 fans on her one blogger, if she has 3,000 Facebook fans and she engages 10% of her community to like the page, and then you multiply that by 20 or 30 other bloggers also working on a campaign that have maybe 25,000 followers, and they engage 10% of their own audience. When you add that up, that becomes a whole lot of likes and dollars to a brand, you know? So you are certainly valuable. You have a voice as a blogger. If you have an audience, you have a voice. And the brands understand that you are influential when it comes to persuading people whether or not they should make a purchase.
You're right. So how did you start the niche parent? So you started the conference. So from the conference, is that where you then began the network?
No, I always wanted it to be a network and a conference.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was always the networking conference, and it was just two different ways to engage. So, you know, conference, you engage at one large event, although you're working the entire year to get attendees and get brands to sponsor. And then the network just allows you the opportunity to engage with brands in very different ways, and you can be a lot more creative. So this year we decided not to do the conference, and I have like no regrets not having done it. As anybody who does a conference will tell you, it is a lot of work, and it doesn't matter. It's like the more money you make, the more you work, really. You know, when you divide the amount for the conference, like when you divide the amount of hours that you put into the speakers, working with the sponsors, the team that you hire to help you plan and do the event, the volunteers and everything, I'm just like, I'd rather practice the law than to do this big old conference that, you know, commands 70 to 80 hours of your week, when I could be making 3 to 4 times that amount, working the same amount of hours as a practice attorney. And that's just for me. So we've done some smaller events. Love the smaller events. Love the smaller events. Like, I'm all about doing more smaller events and having maybe one brand sponsor, or just really just getting together as a community at these different events. So actually, we're going to be I'm going to be in Atlanta next week with Joyce, our community manager, for SoFab on the Road Atlanta. So that's obviously not an event that we're doing, but SoFab is Collective Bias, and you know, they've done SoFab on the road and they're traveling, and I just feel like that model is really like, I guess, you know, it's part of shaping the future of conferences, is having some of these smaller events that travel around the country.
Interesting. I'll have to see if they're coming to Chicago.
Oh, I'm sure that they are. Yeah, check them out.
Mm-hmm. Definitely,
Chicago
definitely.
or near Chicago,
So how did you find Joyce?
So Joyce was a community member, and I feel like we didn't really meet in person until after she became the community manager. But when I was hired as community manager, I just, you know, sent an email out. We're hiring. If you're interested, apply. Here are the qualifications. Here's what we're asking you to do. And she applied. I got tons of resumes actually. And I did several interviews, and she was the one I decided to go with. Yeah.
Wow. That's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, because she knows her stuff. As a matter of fact, I went to Joyce's website when I started doing the car reviews and was looking at Joyce's because I was like, oh, Joyce has done these before.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's done a great job in working with brands as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's just, I mean, it's amazing that you did all this. So when did you start working your new full-time job? Because not only does she have all that going, but now Nadia actually does have a 9 to 5.
Yes. So now I went back to a 9 to 5. Actually, it's been exactly a year and a week now. My 1-year anniversary was last week. So that was really interesting. So as I mentioned briefly, I was a law professor. I left the law school to work with the ad agency full time. So I resigned from the law school, and my dean was like, "What do you mean you're leaving?" And I was like, "I'm leaving to go to an ad agency." And he's like, "To do what?" Like, a lot of my coworkers knew that I was really into blogging and social media, and that I had, been doing conferences and everything else. So they kind of knew that this was my passion, but the dean was like completely clueless. And I was like, I've been doing these conferences and, I blog or whatever, but I'm going to be the director of social media, the social media strategist, whatever. And he's like, so you're leaving to do Facebook? And I was like, no, but okay, well, whatever you want to say, that's what I'm doing. So anyway, so I left the school, was at the ad agency, and then, left the ad agency because I was like, doing the conference and doing the network. And I was like, you know what, something's got to give. So I'm going to continue to do my thing. And it was great. But long story short, last August, I get a call from someone at the school, and they were like, we know you're doing marketing now, and we have been interviewing, and somebody saw you speak at an event. I spoke at an event in town on social media and the law, and how law firms can engage and work with, potential clients, whatever, at a bar event. And I did it for free. And I always say that too. Like, it's great to make money, but at the same time, you've got to think bigger than the money. So I spoke at this event for free. It was completely packed room. And the president, I think it was the president of the law school, was in the room. And I didn't know he was there. Anyways, he saw me speak, and some of my coworkers were there. And when they couldn't find anybody to fill the position for the director of marketing and communications, they're like, come and interview. We'd love for you to come back if you're interested. So I was like, I'm willing to hear what they have to say. So I went in, interviewed, and they're like, well, you got the job if you want it. Like, your resume is way more impressive than the 100 people that have submitted their resumes. You have a legal background, like you're a perfect fit. So I'm like, okay, this was not even on my radar at all. When I tell you this was not on my radar, it was not on my radar. But one of my colleagues had been promoted to, like, basically now she's my boss. And we had worked together on a couple of things when I was a professor there. And she was like, well, listen, I'd love to work with you again. Long story short, like, please come and do this. So I'm like, you know what? This can't hurt. And I already had, like, basically I started like within a week. And then I was like, it was funny. I'm like, okay, I'm going to Spain for a week. Then I'm going to on a cruise for like 8 days. Like, my whole fall had been planned. And I was like, so maybe I should just start in January. And they were like, don't worry about it. Like, we're going to work it out. And I was like, okay. So that fall, I was like in the office for 2 to 3 weeks on a trip. In the office on a trip. But I work with an amazing group of people, and it's been a great experience. I'm really glad that I did it. And it's been another one of those, like, you're still learning. I always feel like you can never know too much, so still learning a lot. Have been able to use some of the people that I worked with at the agency. They're now like clients, right, or work with me. So that's been really really interesting.
I mean, as long as you love what you do, I say do it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So, and it sounds like they're very flexible too. So that always helps.
Yeah. Yeah, they're flexible.
Yeah.
So I work with a great team.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So now, Justice Jonesy, how often do you think you blog?
Oh gosh, that's embarrassing. Not that often. Me personally, not that often at all anymore. It goes through, it fluctuates. Like I don't think I've posted. I'm pretty quite sure I have not posted at all in September and September 13th.
Yeah.
So, it goes up and down. It just depends
Right.
on my schedule. And you know what? Like I used to have like anxiety, like, oh my God, I haven't posted this week, or I haven't posted in 2 days. I'm okay with that now. Like I love my blog is not my sole source of income. It's a source of income. That's one thing. And I really believe like you've got to diversify your talent. In fact, through the network, we did a webinar on, from blogger to community manager. Like I can't tell you how many talented bloggers have way more skills than community managers working for these large brands. Like the community managers, like I'm not trying to knock any of them, but having worked with several myself, they, a lot of them are very young. A lot of them don't understand blogging, really don't understand, growing the community. Not all of them. I should say some of them. But my point that I'm trying to say is that bloggers understand building a content calendar, engaging audiences on different social media platforms, tracking the analytics, tracking the growth, engagement. Like they understand engagement, and that's what a community manager does. They engage a community on behalf of a brand. They've created a voice. Bloggers have their own voice for their own community. Those skills are so transferable, and so you really have to diversify your income and your revenue stream. So for me,
I think it still goes back to, even though it's so new, even though it's not as new, but it's still new. I think that a lot of the companies are hiring these people because they look great on paper, but but the companies don't even know how to vet a person to make certain that is the right person for. Because if you have your own Twitter account and you ain't tweeted in 365 days, then what makes you think that this person is going to be answering your customers in a timely fashion?
No, you're right. And the point you made earlier, like some of them, they're still trying to figure out this space too. So the way that like most accounts work, it's like you've got the account supervisor, and you've got somebody who's doing the social media, then you've got somebody who might be doing the digital marketing, then you have somebody that's doing like the media buying. So you've got a whole team of people working on behalf of one brand or one voice. So it really becomes a whole strategy. And then, but when you think about like a blogger and how they've been doing that, they're that whole thing. They're the account supervisor, they're the community manager, they're the media buyer. Like if you're doing Facebook ads and buying Facebook, boosting posts, then you're doing media buys, at a much smaller level. And now, you've got different ways that you can do promoted pins and all these different things. So.
Right. Twitter has promoted posts now, and so sponsored posts, and so does Instagram.
Yep, Instagram. And now Pinterest is open to anybody. They want to promote their pin.
Yeah, so that next. You're right. You're right. Definitely. I agree. Mm-hmm. So in your wildest dream, did you ever, first, if anyone has any questions, please hit Q&A. If you're watching on Google+, it says it right there. You can hit Q&A. If you're on YouTube, there should be a box at the bottom that says be a participant in the audience. Click that box. It'll open another window. There'll be 9 white boxes in the upper right-hand corner. Click there. It should say Q&A. Click that. And you can ask a question, or you can tweet it to Ask Dr. Renee. And I actually did see a tweet, and I was going to tell what it says. From Mommy Talk Show. The hashtag is Ask Dr. Renee Show.
Oh, great.
But Mommy Talk Show tweeted and said, "Thank you, Dr. Renee and Justice Jonesy, for the compliments and love. I'm watching live."
Oh, hey, Joyce.
So hi, Joyce. And Joyce, you don't know, but I'm Renee Joyce, and my mom is the Joyce.
Oh.
Yes, my mom's Reverend Joyce, and I'm Renee Joyce.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So did you ever imagine that this would be your life? 3 kids, you know, the husband, and then being a mompreneur and all this stuff?
I never imagined it. So, you know, when I was practicing law, I was just like, oh, Lord, Jesus, help me. Like, this cannot be my life. That's what I did know at that time. And then, so, you know, when I started blogging, like I said, it was more so of a hobby and an outlet. And then, you know, now there are so many books, and I mean, I'm sure there were back then, but now I'm aware of all the different books about, you know, pursuing your passion and finding a way to earn money through it. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I love marketing. In fact, you know, a lot of what I do, I'm reading, a lot of what I've learned has been hands-on experience, but also like reading books, listening to webinars, attending conferences, of course, iTunes, podcasts, everything. But I've really been thinking like, ooh, if I had just a little bit of extra time, like I might go and get like a master's in marketing or something. You know, like you can pursue that online. Like I would love to.
You're insane.
Why not?
Okay.
You know? Why not?
Once an overachiever, always an overachiever.
So I found out that like my current job would actually pay my tuition. So it's on my list.
Now, how old are your kids?
14, 9, and 10. My oldest just turned 14.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure if anyone can do it, you can do it because you have done the most. So, because I remember when Dre told me about you and I was like, huh? And he's like, you have to go and sign up. I'm like, okay, I will. Yes, Dr. Dre, who's been on the show before. Yeah, he's so like, funny. You got to. He is hilarious. He introduced
me to Uber when I went to blogging.
Oh, you have never heard of Uber?
Well, this was 2 years ago now, I think. But we didn't have it in Jacksonville where I live. We are late to the party. A lot of these things. So I like knew kind of what it was like. I was like, let me show you how to use Uber. So we were in New York and we were like Ubering it everywhere. Like we went on this booty crawl, Uber, and I was like, oh my God, like this has changed my life because I changed. And now it's in Jacksonville, and now I'm like super thrilled about it.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you guys have it now. Mm-hmm. So what is your definition of success?
You know, so for me, that's a really good question. So success is more than just money. I think it's finding like a happy medium between earning money and pursuing your passion. To me, that's success. So you're pursuing your passion. I guess it should come first. Pursuing your passion and making money doing that. Because there's been, you know, there have been opportunities where I have the opportunity to make more money, and then I'm just now at the point in my life like I'm good. Like I know when I can handle something, and I also know when to say no. So I am not afraid of saying no to things.
You know, it's funny you say that because Paul Carrick-Brunson just spoke of that on Mentor Monday. Was it last week? I think it was last week. Lucinda Cross was the guest, but he said he had a very lucrative television deal that he said no to.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And he was like, and I didn't have a problem saying no to it. I knew that was not the right thing for me.
That's amazing. Yeah. No, yeah. I think that means that you are happy where you are. You feel successful in what you are doing. To me, that's my thing.
Yeah. And then also, you know, today's Sunday, and a lot of people, it's Sunday night blues because they got to go to work tomorrow. And so you don't have to worry about that. You know, even though you do actually, you know, go to a job now, still you have found something that you love to do. And that's all I keep trying to tell people. Figure it out, whatever it is that you would not mind doing. And it's not going to be a hindrance to your life. It's not going to cause you to have high blood pressure. And it's going to make you happy, because I'm sure if you're happy, then your children are happy, your husband's happy. And it just trickles down.
It does.
So yeah, so it's just important to be happy and, you know, figure out your definition of success that works for you. Because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people with a whole lot of money that are miserable.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and killing themselves left and right. So,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely no. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's why my hashtag is live life you deserve, because I want everyone to live the life you deserve, because you can find happiness. You just have to take the time to figure it out exactly what is it that works for you. Because I'm sure when you were sitting at the law firm, marketing was not what you thought was going to be the thing for you.
Ever. Nope. Never thought that.
But
I don't have any degree, never took
all these brands. Exactly. And, you know, and that's the thing people don't understand. You don't have to have education for everything, because there's some people that I've heard, especially bloggers, are like, well, I can't do that because I don't have. No. You might be able to finagle it yourself and figure it out. Not to mention, I feel like Google is my best friend. And if I don't know the answer, Google does.
Somebody will. There's a slide share somewhere with the answer.
Exactly. And, you know, I need to do actually a Periscope about SlideShare, because I think a lot of people are not hip to SlideShare. I did not attend Blog Her when it was in Chicago 2 summers ago, and I still kick myself to this day. I should have. But I didn't go. But I actually found the SlideShares for the presentations that I wanted to attend.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I got the audio and I could see everything. Oh, so my sister, Foodie Engineer, has a question. What did your family think when you decided to stop your law career? And what do you say to the naysayers? That's a great question.
That is a great question. So I've written about that before, and they were like my dad, like they just were not feeling it at all. They were, you know, like, you're an established law professor, and I had been promoted. I was up for like another promotion the following year for as a professor. You go from assistant to associate, and then you become professor. So I was like 1 year away from the final leg of that. And I was like, no, this is like what I want to do. You know, like marketing, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I never even thought about like working in an agency in Jacksonville, because as I said, you know, we're not a really progressive city. We're getting there, but we're not. So I was thinking, like, you know, if I ever wanted to do that, I have to move to Atlanta or back to DC or even Houston, somewhere. So somebody who I had worked with before told me about the agency in my town. And they were like, you know, they've been looking for somebody, they haven't been able to hire them. You should really reach out. So I was like, okay. Went for an interview, had a 3-hour interview with like pretty much everybody in the agency, and then met with the CEO and the managing partner at the end, and they're like, you're hired. And I was like, what? like I got hired like that day at the interview, not thinking I was even going to get hired at all. So again, that was just one of those things. I was like, wow, this really happened. So no, I think my family thought I was crazy. And they were like, now you're definitely leaving. Like, are you going to still try to teach? And I was like, nope, not teaching, not anything. So that's all right. I mean, you know, now they're like, I still don't know that my parents really understand what I completely do. They're just glad now that I'm like, okay, well, she's back at the law school. That's a good sign. You know, they went to the conference, the niche parent, when we did it in Fort Lauderdale. And my dad was like, oh, wow, this is like really interesting. Like, people are here. Like, I'm like, yeah, and they're looking at the agenda and all the speakers and stuff. And they were impressed, but, you know, to them, it just isn't really all, I guess it didn't all make sense to them at that time.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. That is funny.
Yeah.
But you know, so basically you show them instead of tell them, the naysayers. You're like, I got this, and keep it moving.
Well, that, and the other thing too, like, this is something I learned in college. Like, I can't remember who said it. It was a friend of mine would always be like, they don't pay my bills. Like, you know, you don't pay my bills, so why are you worried? When you pay my bills, let's talk about it, and you can really have some input. But that's true. Like, I got this. Don't worry about me. Thank you for your concern. I got this.
Right. But so it's great that your husband, though, is behind all of this done.
Would you say you went out for a second?
I said it's great your husband is behind you with this 100% because it takes a village to get all that done.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's an entrepreneur as well. He's been self-employed since we moved to Jacksonville. So
Okay.
When we left DC, he came here. We left DC 12 years ago. He came in Jacksonville to work in the family business. And now he has since taken over the family business. So he is completely self-employed, and he understands, the nature of this game. So he gets it.
Well, that's good. Tell everybody they can reach you and to make sure that they...
I think you said tell everyone how to reach me.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yep. So on social media, myself, I am at Justice Jonesy on any social media channel. For the Network Niche, it is at the Network Niche. Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, and then of course you can go to our website, thenetworkniche.com. If you go to the old website, it'll reroute you to the new website, so don't worry about that. If you find an old link somewhere, we're still updating all those links. And for those of you that signed up, you'll start to get our newsletter. We usually do them middle of the week, most weeks. So we'll definitely get one out.
So roughly how many people do you have in the network now?
We are over 1,700. In
Nice.
fact, the week that we launched with the new rebranding, we got a little over 50 people. So we are over 1,700. Yep. So
Wonderful.
It's exciting.
Wonderful.
Yeah. We've done campaigns with, just some of our male influencers, and of course we've done campaigns with more focused on moms, but we do a lot of diverse campaigns. I'm really excited about that.
Well, thank you so much for giving us some time this evening, because I know you have 3 people that need to get to school tomorrow.
Myself included.
So I so appreciate it. And because all my moms are like, Sunday night, Renee. And I'm like, I mean, so I appreciate you. And everyone, please make sure that you go and check out the Network Niche. Check out justicejonesy.com. She has Facebook groups for the Network Niche as well. That is really efficient, especially if you are a new blogger, you're trying to become an influencer. Joyce handles it, so she's putting all sorts of great articles and stuff in there. So please check it out. And if you next week we will have thinkandgrowchick.com, Courtney Sanders. She, if you have not heard of her, please go to her website. And ready for next Sunday. But she, another blogger who has things with blogging. And actually, what I just found out is that she I think in the last quarter of last year was the first time she actually made money. She has a following. And so it's going to be an interesting conversation. And she also is from Detroit. I love when they're Detroiters. And so I'm excited to talk to her next week. And so same time, same place. I look forward to talking to you. Please look for me at Ask Dr. Renee on all social media platforms. My website, of course, is listed below, askdrrenee.info. And all those Android users, I have an app. My app is Ask Dr. Renee. It is a free app. And you can actually watch the show in the app. You can read my blog. You can shop my Amazon store, all sorts of fun stuff in the app. And of course, more stuff coming. But the app is only available to Android right now. But please definitely download my app. Also, I have a Periscope show daily, 10 o'clock Central Time, 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern, called Renee's Remedies, that I just talk about whatever I feel like talking about. It could be health tip, it could be a business tip, social media, blogging tips, whatever. So I hope that if you're on Periscope, you will tune into that. But everything is at Ask Dr. Renee. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week.